Last week, we met Chioma, a pharmacist who was ashamed of her mother, Mama Nkiru, a traditional healer. When Pastor Joshua publicly called her mother an agent of darkness, Chioma stayed silent. Her silence gave permission for cruelty. The community isolated Mama Nkiru, refused to help her, destroyed her medicinal garden. When her mother fell ill with malaria, she couldn't access the herbs that would heal her. She nearly died. Not from the disease, but from the shame. Chioma discovered the destroyed garden and finally understood. Silence has consequences. Now, she must decide, will she stay silent and safe? Or will she speak and risk everything? This is part 2, The Stand. Welcome to the Afro Tales with Kemi, where African stories are told slowly, honestly, and with meaning. So sit back, open your heart, and walk with me through today's tale, told, as always, the African way. I am Kemi Iwalesi. Back at the hospital, Chioma couldn't sleep. She sat in the corridor, her phone's glow illuminating her face in the darkness, searching, reading, researching. Traditional anti-malaria herbs, Nigeria. Neem leaves medicinal properties. Artemisia malaria treatment. Bitter leaf scientific studies. The results stunned her. Study after study, peer-reviewed papers, clinical trials. Artemisia annua, WHO recognized anti-malaria properties. Neem, proven antipyretic and anti-malaria compounds. Bitter leaf, significant therapeutic effects documented in multiple studies. Her mother's primitive herbs had scientific backing, legitimate, proven, effective. One paper particularly struck her. Traditional medicine represents centuries of empirical knowledge. Modern pharmacology often isolates compounds first discovered in traditional remedies. Quinine came from cinchona bark, aspirin from willow bark, artemisinin, the most effective anti-malaria drug, from Artemisia annua, a plant traditional Chinese healers used for over 2,000 years. Chioma read until sunrise. Her mother wasn't ignorant. She was carrying knowledge that predated laboratories, knowledge that worked, knowledge that could have saved her life if the community hadn't destroyed her access to it. And Chioma, educated, intelligent, trained in science, had been ashamed of that knowledge, had stayed silent while it was called witchcraft, while her mother was isolated, while the garden was destroyed. The weight of it was unbearable. On the 4th day, the fever broke. Mama Nkiru's eyes opened, weak but clear. Chioma, I'm here, Mama. You came. Of course I came. Long silence, just the beep of monitors, the hum of medical equipment. Then, I saw your face. At the crusade, I saw you look away. The words landed like stones. Chioma's tears came. Mama, I'm sorry. I was afraid. Afraid of what? Of them knowing that you are my mother, that you do what you do, that I come from herbs and clay pots and traditions they mock. Mama Nkiru closed her eyes. I have never been ashamed of you, Chioma. Not when you failed exams, not when you struggled, not even when you stopped visiting. I was proud, always proud. Chioma sobbed. But you were ashamed of me. The beeping of the monitor filled the silence. Yes, Chioma whispered. I was. And because of that, I stayed silent. And they almost killed you. Two weeks later, Mama Nkiru was recovering, slowly, carefully. The hospital had saved her life, the very modern medicine the pastor had championed. But it was the medicine her mother's tradition had pioneered that the hospital used. Artemisinin derivatives, compounds from plants. The irony was not lost on Chioma. Then the posters went up again. Pastor Joshua Final Crusade. Complete deliverance from village darkness. Chioma's aunt saw her face change. Let it go, Chioma. He's a man of God. What can you do? I can speak. Argue with a pastor in front of the whole village? What will people say? Chioma looked at her aunt. Let them say what they want. I'm done being silent. That night, she made phone calls to Dr. Adebayo, to Dr. Okafor. There's a medical outreach in my village this weekend. Want to come? They were colleagues. They'd worked together for 2 years. They said yes. They had no idea what they were walking into. The crusade was packed, bigger than the first one. Pastor Joshua had gained a following. His deliverance ministry was growing. Chioma sat in the front row. Dr. Adebayo beside her, Dr. Okafor, 3 other colleagues from the hospital. They wore their hospital badges, their white coats. Her aunt leaned over. Why did you bring them? Witnesses, Chioma said simply. Pastor Joshua began. The same charismatic energy, the same thundering voice, the same message. These village herbalists with their demonic concoctions, leaves and roots cannot heal what only God and modern medicine can heal. These agents of darkness lead people astray. They promise healing but deliver death. The crowd murmured agreement. And then Chioma stood up. All sound dropped away. Just the pounding of her heart. The rustle of her white coat as she rose. The crowd turned. Pastor Joshua's eyes found hers. She took a breath and spoke. Pastor Joshua, may I speak? He looked surprised, then smiled, confident. Of course, my daughter. Do you have a testimony? I'm not here to testify. I'm here to correct you. The smile faded. Chioma's voice was steady. My name is Chioma Nkiru Okafor. I'm a pharmacist at St. Thomas Hospital in the city. And the woman you called an agent of darkness 2 months ago? The woman you told this community to reject and avoid? The woman whose work you called demonic? Is my mother. Her colleagues stared. The village stared. Pastor Joshua's face hardened. Chioma continued. You said traditional medicine is witchcraft. But let me tell you what science says. The anti-malaria drug we use in hospitals, artemisinin, it comes from a plant, Artemisia annua, that Chinese traditional healers used for over 2,000 years. Quinine, one of the first malaria treatments, from cinchona tree bark, traditional remedy. Aspirin, willow bark, ancient medicine. Digosine for heart conditions, foxglove plant. Herbalist knew it first. My mother uses neem leaves for malaria. Do you know what research shows? Neem has documented anti-malaria, antipyretic and antibacterial properties. Published, peer-reviewed, proven. Bitter leaf, which you mock, studies confirm its therapeutic effects for fever, infections and inflammation. Artemisia, the plant she cultivated in her garden, the source of the world's most effective anti-malaria drug. My mother doesn't reject hospitals. She sends people there when they need it. But she also carries knowledge passed down through generations. Knowledge that worked before there were hospitals. Knowledge that still works. Knowledge that modern medicine has validated. You call it darkness. I call it wisdom. But here is what breaks my heart, Pastor. 3 weeks ago, my mother nearly died of malaria. Not because her medicine failed, but because after your crusade, no one would help her access it. The woman who sold her herbs refused to serve her. Said her pastor, perhaps you, told her not to support agents of darkness. Young men who used to fetch plants from the forest for her suddenly had mothers who forbade them from helping the witch. And someone, maybe someone in this crowd right now, destroyed her medicinal garden, uprooted 30 years of cultivated healing plants, poisoned her artemisia, smashed her pots, wrote "Repent Witch" on her fence. My mother couldn't treat herself. Not because traditional medicine doesn't work, but because you turned this community into a weapon against her. You didn't just insult traditional medicine that day. You weaponized shame. You gave permission for cruelty. You isolated a healer until she couldn't heal. And she almost died. You know what saved her? The hospital, modern medicine, IV freeze and anti-malaria drugs. The very system you championed. But do you know what those drugs are made from? Plants. Traditional knowledge. Refined. My mother's traditions and modern medicine aren't enemies. They are partners. They always have been. And I was ashamed of my mother. I stayed silent when you humiliated her. I let you turn people against her because I was afraid. Afraid of what my colleagues would think. Afraid of being associated with village medicine. But I'm not silent anymore. My mother is a healer, not a demon. Traditional medicine is not witchcraft. it's knowledge. And we don't have to choose between honoring our ancestors' wisdom and embracing modern science. We can hold both. We should hold both. Because the real darkness isn't in herbs or hospitals. It is in the shame that makes us destroy what we don't understand. The crowd was absolutely still. Then Dr. Adebayo stood. She's right. I'm a medical doctor. I was taught in pharmacology that 70% of modern drugs originated from traditional plant medicine. We shouldn't mock we don't understand. We should study it, validate it, integrate it. Dr. Okafor stood. My grandmother was an herbalist in Enugu. She taught me about healing before I ever entered medical school. She knew which bark treated infections, which leaves reduced fever. She saved lives. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud. One by one, people in the crowd began standing. An old man, Mama Nkiru, healed my daughter when the hospital said there was nothing more they could do. A young mother, she helped me deliver my son when I couldn't afford the clinic. A teacher, she never charged my family, not once. And we repaid her with cruelty. Pastor Joshua's face had changed. The arrogance was gone. He looked smaller, troubled, uncertain. He opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time, he had no words. After the crusade, Pastor Joshua asked to speak to Chioma. Privately, they sat on a bench outside the crusade ground. I owe you an apology, and your mother. Chioma waited. I grew up Pentecostal, very strict. We were taught traditional practices were evil, demonic. I never questioned it. I repeated what I was taught. He looked genuinely troubled. But you are right. I didn't just speak against traditional medicine. I spoke against your mother. I spoke against people. And I gave permission for people to be cruel. I didn't tell them to destroy her garden. I didn't tell them to isolate her. But my words made them feel righteous in doing it. He looked at Chioma. I almost killed her. With words. With shame. Chioma's voice was quiet. Yes, you almost did. Silence. Then, will you come with me to apologize to your mother? I need to make this right. Chioma studied him, searching for sincerity. She found it. Yes, but understand, my mother doesn't owe you forgiveness. What you did, what you set in motion, that's not erased with an apology. I know. Mama Nkiru received them on her veranda. Still weak, still recovering, but there was strength in her eyes. Pastor Joshua knelt in the dust before her. Mama Nkiru, I sinned against you. I called you an agent of darkness when you were an agent of healing. I spoke against your work, which I didn't understand. I turned a community against you. And because of my words, you almost died. I cannot undo what I did. I cannot restore your garden. I cannot give back the weeks you suffered in isolation. But I can say this: I was wrong, deeply harmfully wrong. Please forgive me. Mama Nkiru looked at him for a long moment. The silence stretched. Then, you were afraid. People fear what they don't know. That's human. But fear should make us ask questions, not cast judgments. Fear should make us humble, not cruel. She shifted in her chair, still weak. You didn't destroy my garden with your own hands. But your words gave others the courage to do what they already wanted to do. Words are powerful, Pastor. You know this. You use them every day. When you speak, people listen and they act. What you set in motion almost killed me. But not because of malaria, because of the isolation, the shame, the cruelty. Do you understand that? Yes, Mama, I understand. Mama Nkiru took a breath. I forgive you. Not because what you did is acceptable, but because holding this anger will poison me worse than any disease. And I've fought too hard to survive to let bitterness kill me now. Pastor Joshua wept. Chioma watched, her own tears falling. After a moment, Mama Nkiru spoke again. You have a platform, Pastor. People listen to you. Use it to heal the damage. Teach your people that there is wisdom in tradition. That our ancestors were not fools. That God's healing can come through many hands. Doctors and herbalists. Can you do that? Pastor Joshua nodded, unable to speak. Finally, yes, Mama, I will. I promise you, I will. As the pastor stood to leave, he turned back. Mama, next month we are having a health conference at the church. Doctors, nurses, community health workers. Would you be willing to come to speak about traditional medicine, about the wisdom you carry? The church needs to learn. I need to learn. Mama Nkiru looked surprised. Then she looked at Chioma. I'll come, if my daughter comes with me. Chioma took her mother's hand. I'll be there, Mama. Three months later, the compound was full again. Not just with patients, but with students. Chioma had brought her hospital colleagues home to learn. Dr. Adebayo took notes as Mama Nkiru explained which leaves treated which ailments. Dr. Okafor asked about preparation methods, dosages, contraindications. A medical student asked if they could return next month with more questions. They didn't mock. They listened, respectfully, genuinely, and Mama Nkiru taught. Not as a curiosity, not as a relic, but as a colleague. Chioma watched her mother. confident, knowledgeable, respected. And for the first time in her life, in her adult life, she felt no shame, only pride. Later, after the others had left, her mother asked, "What changed? Why did you finally speak?" Chioma thought about it. I realized that silence wasn't protecting me. It was killing something in me. And I realized you were never the one who needed to change. I was. I needed to stop being ashamed of where I came from. Stop apologizing for the wisdom you carry. Stop choosing between two worlds that were never actually opposed. Mama Nkiru smiled. "We found your voice." "I found more than that, Mama. I found the bridge between your world and mine, between tradition and science, between what our ancestors knew and what we are discovering now. And I'm not choosing sides anymore, because there are no sides, just different ways of seeing the same truth. That healing comes in many forms, and wisdom lives in many places. We just have to be humble enough to recognize it." Mama Nkiru reached for her daughter's hand. Some daughters run from their mothers. Some run toward them. And some finally learn to stand beside them. Chioma squeezed her mother's hand. "I'm standing beside you now, Mama, and I'm not moving." True wisdom isn't choosing between old and new. It's having the courage to honor both. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tale.